Whenever I'm feeling a little down in the dumps, I like to play the silliest and weirdest games I can find. Whether it's ruining people's lives in Untitled Goose Game, or chasing down primates with a net in Ape Escape, I feel like I'm experiencing play in its purest form. Keita Takahashi's games, in particular Katamari Damacy, is my favourite example of this chaotic fun I enjoy so much, and his latest title Watam is no exception. The bright virtual playground of Watam I saw in the trailers filled me with excitement, and when it came to release day, I booted it up ready for the relaxing, joyful game I expected. Yet, this was the start screen. The intro was dark and lonely, and although it doesn't take very long for the mood to lighten up, it already caught me a little off guard. The words "everything was lost" wasn't a phrase I thought I would see in a Keita Takahashi game, as I was used to the whimsical introductory scenes of Katamari. As I made friends with rocks and sent everyone flying with explosions, the music became upbeat, and the sun rose up to reveal that bright happy palette I know so well. As I held hands and messed around with these virtual buddies I made, even more were born from this act of play. With a growing group of sentient items and shapes with their different abilities, even the greatest of obstacles can be overcome. But despite all of this, I couldn't shake that loneliness at the start of the game. The dark demise of Earth that resulted in the loss of everything. The game sees us rebuild, solving puzzles and unlocking new characters and platforms. You make friends with these living objects, and often find yourself making them happy when they're sad. They're able to transform through actions with others, never constrained to one form, and through all of this, you connect the world once again. There's not one object who is more useful than the other. Everyone has their strengths, and together, any problem can be solved. The name Watam comes from two words, Watam, the Tamil word for circle, and wa, the Japanese word for harmony. It's a perfect name for this virtual utopia. In an interview with The Verge, Takahashi explains why there's no humans in the game, stating very simply that he just likes objects. He says that we throw away everything without any consideration for the environment, and so he wanted to make a video game to show people that ordinary stuff is important to us. It's not the first time we've seen his fascination with everyday items either, portraying them both as a means of play and a product of consumerism. And through gameplay, it's like all these things are litter to be picked up in an act of cleaning. Watam is a game that has some of the wackiest gameplay moments ever, but it still manages to have important messages underneath it all. It's relatable and hopeful, but also totally bonkers. And that got me thinking, have I just looked at the happy exteriors of these silly games, never seeking the lessons that lie beyond that? What messages have I missed in Katamari or other titles? And that's when I played Say No More. Say No More follows an intern on their first day of work, which is pretty terrible at the start. The interns are treated like coffee-fetching servants, and their working area is a dump. Society in this game basically frowns upon the word no, so your character doesn't seem to be able to say it until they discover a tape. On this tape is a mentor, who hypes you up and teaches you how to say no. The game shows the positive power of no, and not putting up with people's dumb requests, with a range of no's and other reactions. It's basically a how you actually want to respond to your annoying coworker simulator.
Clean the coffee maker!
No!
Oh, by being
No!
outrageous! We need milk!
No!
Let's smile, please!
No!
Okay, fine, I suck!
Despite all of this, the game also serves as commentary on social etiquette and workplace standards. It explores how pushing or breaking boundaries for the sake of performance or getting along with people can be harmful in all kinds of ways. All of this reminds me of my first full-time job at 18, where I felt like I had to keep working even though I wasn't feeling well, or had to put in unpaid overtime almost every day sometimes in order to complete my workload. It wasn't the type of place that would have fired me if I didn't, but I felt this pressure to work twice as hard, despite getting paid significantly less than my colleagues. Some would try to sneak their tasks onto me, and I didn't know any better, so I completed them as well as my own projects. No one said anything, not even management, because an employee who always says yes is efficient in the eyes of business. But eventually I grew frustrated, and tired of people taking advantage of me as a worker. My mental and physical health began to suffer, and I was forced to learn to say no more. Of course, it would have been better if my co-workers and managers respected me and actually did something when I raised my concerns. but unfortunately, I've never had a genuinely good, caring boss, and I think that's more common of an experience for people than it should be. Depending on your workplace, it's not always easy saying no, but maybe this game can be a kind of outlet for that. I can personally say it made me feel really good playing this game after a long day at work dealing with stressful people. It also explores how bad workplaces are often a cycle, where bosses who are disrespectful and abusive usually also have that same kind of boss in their working lives, and there needs to be someone to break that cycle. Interns shouldn't be treated like second-class workers just because that's how others were treated back when they were interns. We should be normalising healthy working environments, and that's something the game really draws attention to. Another thing that Say No More teaches us is that saying no to things isn't rude. If we're not comfortable with something, we don't have to agree to go along with it in fears of hurting someone's feelings. If they choose to take it to heart, then that's their problem if they can't handle healthy communication.
Hey Jim, I won't be at your party tonight.
Okay. Thank you for being honest with me, Brenda.
Marius Winter, the game director for Say No More, says that many of life's challenges can be mitigated by staying true to yourself and properly expressing your feelings. This isn't necessarily how we're socialised, so we wanted to make a game that harnesses the power of no in an outlandish, comical way. Say No More may be a funny game, but it's an exploration of a universal truth about sticking up for ourselves. Basically, this silly little game resonated with me more than I ever thought it would, and there was an important lesson and self-reflection to be gained from it. These aren't the only titles of this kind that do this, as I've already discussed with Watam, but Say No More reminded me of another one of Takahashi's work, and not just visually with its boxy depiction of humans. It never struck me until I played Say No More, but the king in Katamari is basically a bad boss. He puts your achievements down most of the time, makes you fix the problems he caused, and just doesn't really respect you at all. The prince isn't given the opportunity to say no. In fact, he never even speaks back. He doesn't communicate his thoughts and feelings throughout the game, and he's essentially just a robot doing the work assigned to him. Even if he enjoys rolling up objects, it shouldn't give his father the right to treat him like that. The relationship made me think of family pressures, where parents sometimes impose very strict and high expectations on their kids. And that's where Papa comes in, the king's father. Papa was introduced in We Love Katamari, shown to be relentlessly pushing the young king, back when he was a prince, to study, play piano, dance, and train. You could see he wanted to be allowed to have a normal childhood, but instead Papa forced him to be a boxer. Upon winning second in a competition, he threw his son's trophy away in disappointment, because second place wasn't good enough for him. The king grew into a troubled adolescent, but this is when he met the future queen. Papa didn't approve of the relationship, causing him and his son to fight. But a little later on, the king sees his father sitting with the trophy he retrieved from the river, and so they reconcile. The years move on happily and the king is given his royal status, and sometime after that, the prince is born. Seeing the king's relationship with his father helped me understand him more when it comes to his treatment of the prince. It seems he is imposing high expectations on his son too. However, from what we see, he is a bit less cruel than Papa was. It's still not great parenting, but at least there's some explanation behind it. Overall, I spiraled into a deeper thought process when it came to a game I used to just see as the fun rolling stuff up game. There was so much more to it beneath that bright, wacky exterior, and it made me appreciate the characters a lot more. It also makes me wonder how the prince will one day become the king, and if his relationship with his father will progress. From the power of working together to the liberation of saying no, there are messages to be gained from these games. But maybe because gameplay is at the forefront and such silly events take place, we easily fall into letting any deeper analysis of the story fly over our heads. Or at least that's definitely what happened in my case. There's more than meets the eye in these instances, and it makes me see these titles in a new light. I admire the lessons and discussions they bring forward, and I'll definitely think twice from now on about only looking at the surface of even the weirdest of games.
But all I'm really asking is that you live your life each day being the best person you can be. Saying no to things that are unreasonable. Saying no to things that cause you or others harm. And understanding the power you have to change yourself. To change the world and the systems that you live in. Saying no more means what it says. It's not about always saying no. It's not about never saying yes. But if you're listening to this, maybe you should consider the advice and say no more!